Sandra Day said, and I quote, "The power I exert on the court depends on the power of my arguments and not on my gender."
Today we have with us Ms. Prachi. With diverse litigation experience in the High Court and Supreme Court of India, Ms. Prachi counsels, advises, represents her client on legal affairs in relation to civil and criminal matters, IBC, matrimonial and family disputes, sexual harassment, property and land acquisition matter, arbitration, and debt recovery. Prior to completing law school and commencing her legal career, Ms. Prachi worked as a social entrepreneur. Ms. Prachi has a long standing commitment for the rights of children and women. She is also vocal about environment and protection and pollution. We are so glad to have you
Would you
here.
like to
First
share your
question would be,
inspirations and your journey of becoming a lawyer?
Thank you so much for having me here. I absolutely love the concept of this UN Foundation Girl Up campaign, first and foremost. And thank you, Udita, for following up and making this happen. So my journey as a lawyer, first things first, I did not, that was not my goal in life to be a lawyer. I was a history honors student. Then I did my MBA abroad. Then I moved back to India and I decided to study law because I was working closely with nonprofits, and I realized that if I want to go into advocacy, I need to have knowledge of law. And I did my law when I was expecting, I was still taking my exams when my daughter was 4 days old. I traveled with her to take my exams. So law has been for me a tedious journey, a journey of perseverance. And I'm so glad I did it because now I'm at a place where I'm able to help many. Not only in litigation, but also in advocacy and in supporting in other ways, even spreading legal awareness. So the journey of becoming a lawyer was very personal. It was not a career choice per se, but it was out of the idea of being able to do more in life. And by grace of God, I was able to. I had the opportunity to represent people because I also worked with nonprofits while I was studying law. As a volunteer and having, promoting media for nonprofits, which gave me the opportunity to identify area of policy paralysis. That in turn kept me motivated to go on and do law. And now as a practicing lawyer, I feel grateful that I took the path I took instead of, staying into MBA.
Yes, ma'am, that's a great inspiration for doing something in life to work for others. And I want to ask that, did you face any difficulties being a female lawyer, especially in India, when, that lawyers are advised to go for company jobs, or even if you're choosing law, then go for corporate and not criminal practices? So did you face any kind of challenges like this?
It is true that in India, most women prefer that eventually they should go into corporate side instead of getting into litigation. One of the judges during his retirement speech said, we need more people into litigation rather than going into corporate. Corporate is, some say it is easy. I wouldn't say that it is an easy way out. It's not true. Every aspect of law is difficult. However, one thing that women in litigation face is that I would not say men in general, but society in general, even women underestimate a woman lawyer representing them. It is more difficult for a woman to establish her authority over topics, that she is knowledgeable enough, she can represent. That is a societal mindset that all women face. And I don't think it is law as a profession where this roadblock is. I think it is there in a lot of other professions. And more and more women who, I'm going to say lawyers senior to me, have been leading the way for us, a younger generation, to follow suit and prove our mettle. But I feel every lawyer has to prove their worth. It is not passed down, and it is not that okay, there are 100 good women lawyers, so then 101 will have it easy. It's not like that.
Well, nationality and citizenship discrimination, as noted in the discussion on reservations and also regional convention, the granting of nationality and citizenship of children through the male line is one of the clearest manifestation of discrimination against women and children. Together with the limitation placed on married women in their ability to pass on their nationality to their husbands, it is an area where discrimination has been legally enshrined for a long time. This is despite the clear international enshrining rights to nationality. So, do you see this thing changing in the near future or something that you have seen in the courtrooms or somewhere?
See, that's a very interesting question you have asked, because I personally have dealt with it, because I'm an Indian citizen. My husband is an American citizen. So when our child was born, I fought for her citizenship for a long time. My daughter was 2 years old, and I get a call from the US Embassy saying, you have illegally detained a US citizen. And I said, the US citizen in question is my daughter, and I'm an Indian citizen, and my daughter was born in India, so she's also an Indian citizen. So I fought that issue for a very long time with two governments, only to find there is actually not, citizenship per se is not defined in the acts, this particular part that I'm going to talk about, but it is there in Ministry of Home Affairs, where it says that a child till the age of 18 in certain circumstances can keep both passports and both citizenship. So my daughter is basically a citizen of India and US, not an overseas citizen of India, but a real citizen, and she decides when she turns 18 which citizenship she wants to keep and which she wants to give up. But that is something I personally fought for, and for a very, very long time. So I kind of understand how it goes. Even though it is not the case in India, it is allowed that one of the parent has to be Indian citizen and the child will be considered an Indian citizen based upon jus soli, the concept of jus soli. But we see that in a lot of other countries like Sierra Leone, it is based upon the paternity, the citizenship. And we come across so many of such archaic patriarchal laws, basically patriarchal cultural mindset that has been a standard and have turned into law, and they need to be broken, because we see that there are a lot of single mothers who are coming, divorces are happening, and in these cases what happens is, the first thing that happens is, instead of fighting for custody, it will be immediately become a case of international parental abduction. Now, that is a lot of hassle for any woman, and mostly it's women who suffer on these issues. It's a lot of hassle for a woman to undergo, and I feel that the citizenship for child should be determined based upon either of the parent or the ancestors, the concept of jus sanguine, instead of saying that this is the way it has been done, so this is the way we are going to do. And as I have already shared my personal experience, I feel that citizenship laws is something that needs to be really revisited and made easier for women.
So there is a term, obedience law, which is often used for the same. So can you give us a brief about the same?
Obedience law, per my knowledge, is you're talking, I think, about the wife obedience that still governs the marital relations in a lot of states.
Yeah.
And it is true. I mean, I would not say we need to go and look at some other developing countries. It is very relevant in India as well. I would not go into the religious aspects of it, but as we mutually know, without calling out religions, it is there most in, I would not say all religions, but a lot. And that is a by default mindset which is passed down from generation to generation. And that is like, it's not exactly a law, but it is an unsaid law of the land, a cultural law. It is what we would say that it's an anthropological law that needs to be done with. We would also know that in Northeast, there are societies that are matriarchal, where the mother's name is passed. However, in general, it is not there. And we have to change this mindset by breaking out of it. And I would also always give my personal example because I come from a very empowered family. I mean, I'm a fourth generation working mother. So I have not come across obedient wives. And so these laws, of course, look very archaic to me. But I feel that women can have a lot of say and power, and the obedience law can be done away with, provided they have the support of their parents, their spouses, and society at large. So what we have come across about wife obedience is also what happens is, I mean, we personally come across this in a lot of criminal cases where there are continuing offenses, but a woman, out of being obedient wife and following the archaic traditions of the family, is not able to voice the crime or bring out the accused, who often is the husband, because she's following this. So that is my understanding of obedience law, and we don't talk about it in our petitions, but it is there and we come across it often.
And like you said, that most of the times we see that she's not able to voice her crimes because the abuser or the injurer is the husband itself. So what, we have various domestic violence laws in India. But do you think that they are adequate enough to actually reduce this sort of problem in from the societal mindset, of course, because it is a mindset problem, as we can see.
Right. So I would not say that domestic violence law is enough. And also, we all know that domestic violence law is also one of the most abused law in our country at the moment. I mean, as a petition goes to the Supreme Court, we notice, and even the judges have pointed it out on certain instances, that a lot of false cases are there. So the false cases aside, let's look at the viability of Domestic Violence Act and the ambit, whether it's enough. I would not say it is enough, because the biggest problem is, even though it includes physical abuse, mental abuse, economic abuse, the awareness is less. The empowerment of women is less to actually go ahead and voice the abuse, go ahead and file a complaint. I mean, of course, all progress is a double-edged sword. I always say that. However, what we notice in Domestic Violence Act is most women are still reluctant to go ahead and file a case. So often we come across in divorce petitions that women have not filed the case of Domestic Violence Act. First thing, they are afraid that in case the divorce doesn't go through and they have to go back to their husband, who is the perpetrator of the crime, they will still be suffering, and they might suffer more through their in-laws and the husband. So they are afraid of filing the case. So I feel Domestic Violence Act is a very encompassing act. However, women are less empowered at the moment to use it. And then again, we also come across women who are too empowered and abuse it. So there needs to be a balance, a moral balance, as well as empowerment, to bring out the real value of such laws that can be used nicely to actually meet the ends of justice instead of being abused or underused.
I totally agree with you on this. And do you think that in India for men, because statistically men are also domestically abused, and it is very prevalent in India?
It is a very good question you've asked, Vanya, because I personally feel, and I think a lot of lawyers and judges would agree with me on this without naming, that there should be a domestic violence law for men also. I mean, I have never identified myself as a feminist because I feel women need equality. So if women, men also need equality. So what's for them as well? Because we come across a lot of false domestic violence petitions. And if so many false petitions keep coming, it will eventually harden the stance of judiciary, harden the stance of lawyers. So it is better to give equal right to both of them so that the law is not abused. When a woman has the right, the same right a man has, they would be very conscious about using it, knowing that they both can suffer. And, there are a lot of crimes in IPC where both parties are suffering. Everybody, irrespective of their gender, get the same amount of, punishment. So if a punitive law is there, after a point when it has been established, it is better to make that punitive law gender equal instead of tilting it towards one or the other gender, especially when we have actually come across a lot of abuse of the same law.
We have actually seen so many such cases also happening that what you're saying is totally relatable to us. And so when we see like the condition or the security of women, rape is one of the most heinous crime committed against a woman. It insults womanhood, it violates the dignity of a woman, erodes her honor, it dwarfs her personality and reduces her confidence level as well. It violates her life, her right to life guaranteed under Article 21 of the Constitution of India. And a lot of women are often scared about reporting these cases, as they're scared about how the society will look up to them or how will they face everything in any of these cases. And is there any way that they can report this thing like anonymously? And this also happens in their workplace, right? So how shall they go ahead with this?
See, Udita, what you have mentioned is very true, especially when you talk about how it, undermines their confidence and reduces their confidence. That is a very well point you have made, Udita. I really appreciate it. And you're right. What happens is they can report it, but honestly, the fear is greater than the idea of getting justice. And we also know that often justice is so delayed, and losing the so-called societal honor is on top of the list. So a lot of cases go underreported. Uh, at workplace, we have the Prevention of Sexual Harassment at Workplace law, under which sexual abuse can be reported, and eventually, and that law came into being based upon the Vishaka judgment, which was about a gang rape case. That came after the light. It was based upon a PIL to bring sexual harassment act and policies not only in organized work sector but also in unorganized work sector. That apart, I think the biggest problem is that women, both in organized and unorganized sector, are unaware of their rights, especially under the POSH Act. I know that it is made compulsory that organizations with certain amount of employees need to have a mandatory POSH Act and a committee training, and a committee needs to be there. However, what I have personally noticed is it is first thing not followed in all the organizations, or even if it is done just as an eyewash, instead of women actually being aware of what their exact right is. And maybe organizations can just have an app, or the government can issue an app that can provide legal awareness, the basic legal awareness to all women. And registering virtual complaints is possible. First thing, we have the right for zero FIR. So even if a woman has suffered any injustice or a crime has been done against her, she can file an FIR at any place, not exactly the place of the crime. That is keeping in mind the safety of the woman and the convenience of the woman. Secondly, online FIRs are very much possible. Every police station has, every district has a cyber cell. So if you can't go of course, you don't have to report a cyber crime, but you can definitely email your complaint. However, we have noticed that there is delay of action on account of police. That I think most of us have felt. But that is also coming up. A lot of states are launching their own women helpline that might be helpful. But honestly, I think more work has to be done, especially spreading awareness and making women feel confident about reporting the abuse and the crimes that have been committed, so that they feel confident to report it and they feel safe after reporting it.
Ma'am, I agree. Like, they don't have enough awareness of their rights most of the time, so it's difficult for them to more report them. So like, what do you think that there are many what is your stance on the case of capital punishment being awarded for rape? Like, is it effective? Like, will it actually cause some changes to reduce the rape cases in India?
As speaking, capital punishment does not always solve the issue. We all noticed it in Nirbhaya case, where the capital punishment was awarded by the Honorable Supreme Court. However, after that, we noticed the Hathras case and many such cases. The underreported cases of rape and the unreported cases of rape are actually high in this country. So legislative changes are definitely needed because people know that a case, even if a rape case is filed, it will take time to be decided. And for a capital punishment, to the point of capital punishment coming, the case has to be decided by the Supreme Court. And the Honorable Supreme Court always maintains, I mean, it sticks to the fact that it is capital punishment will be awarded in rarest of the rare case. And they usually turn everything into a life imprisonment, which of course they're bound by duty to do so. They cannot keep awarding capital punishment. However, a stringent legislative change would guide in the right direction. And maybe they should have legislations and law that expedites the rape case. I mean, there should be a timeline that if there is a rape case, it should be decided, expedited and decided instead of stretching it over a decade. Do it in a year. Set special courts for that, or basic legislative change has to come through, because we have seen that the judiciary is overburdened. We have also seen that society has failed to change its mindset. Men are still doing the crime often, and often women are being blamed for being out and working or dressing a certain way. So instead of trying to again cage the woman, it is better to and we have constantly failed in changing the mindset of men. It is better to bring out some strong legislative changes and establish more courts and judiciary, empower them to bring forth more stringent laws, if not capital punishments.
But ma'am, do you think that capital punishment, like being the state of the judiciary, is very overburdened? So even if we bring out capital punishment cases of rape, there is still underreported and unreported cases, and there's still the kind of hesitation that a woman has to report to report such case. So will it actually, and the process and the long process it takes to actually get to that stage of being capital punished, so will it like actually be that effective in the sense that we could actually bring a change in the system? Because there are many people who always this kind of cases come. The Hathras case came, everyone was demanding for a capital punishment, but then getting towards that process of the judicial functions, the court cases are getting delayed a lot. So I don't think that, like, it's my personal opinion that it would actually bring a significant amount of change.
See, it is definitely not going to. Capital punishment is not the solution. I agree with you, because we have witnessed it. What happens is a heinous crime of rape will happen and everybody will start demanding for capital punishment. But we all know it will take 10 years for that to come through, and public memory is very, very short. They will forget about it. They will lose the compassion because they can't hold it. They all have their own personal issues again. And what another option that can be thought about it is that there should be stringent rape laws. There should be a timeline set. Like there is limitation period for filing a case, there should be a limitation period for finishing the case off. I mean, we have to think out of the box to govern. See, if the society is unwilling to change on themselves, we have to find a way of bringing more legislations that do not exactly amount to capital punishment, but that can instill fear that if you commit a rape, it is not that you will be let go free. And it is not that it might take 10, 15 years. It should be decided in a lesser time, and we can set separate courts for similar cases. I mean, there are a lot of ideas that can be brought forward. More changes can happen. They can set commissions to bring that forth. However, none of that has been thought. We are still taking the old route of whatever is written in CRPC and IPC and following that. And I think more women need to come forward and demand a change, because change won't be voluntarily handed down to us.
When we talk about all of this, I feel that a lot of change has to come, and a lot has started coming up also. Like people have started talking about it. Now the female doesn't have to be that is not in that sort of a pressure, like not put in that sort of pressure by the society, because people have started understanding because of having a lot of discussions about these things. So I feel that when we'll have discussions about these topic, and when people will be freely talking about this, situation might start getting better. So I think when these certain instances happen, we have seen how people try to come up in the support of the person. But as you said that, like the time increases, like before the punishment and everything, and people start forgetting it all. But we saw this in the Nirbhaya case, like it went on for such a long time and everything, and finally the execution and everything happened after a long run. The families were must be really exhausted. But I feel that in this whole, the victim has to go through a lot, plus but the person who has committed the crime to find a way out. And like the Nirbhaya case got a lot of public attention, a lot of people got to know. But in smaller instances, people don't even get to know about like something like this happened, and they run away. So what is your take on that?
See, again, I would say that what happens is only some cases garner the support of public and politicians. Most of them do not even reach the point of reporting. That's what I say. They are underreported cases in the country. And I humbly believe that we need stricter legislative changes in the country to, penalize rape cases, and for the a rape case to be finalized in a certain time frame. Because at the back of our mind, most of us know that if something has gone into the court, it is going to take long, and reaching Supreme Court, it will take 10 years. That is the general mindset, and we know that the judiciary is overburdened. So I agree with you, Udita, that uh, in smaller towns or in other places where the cases are not reported, justice is far from being served. And cases keep increasing because one person will say, oh, I did it, so other person will do it. I mean, that is the general mindset of men that we have come across. So major legislative reform is needed. A new set of, I think another set of female-centric reforms are needed in the country. Maybe a 21st century reform that we might actually see in a few years if more and more voices, like younger people like you, come across on board and demand such rights and put forth suggestions that come through.
Like for this whole thing, we have section 375 of Indian Penal Code defines rape and consider it as an offense, whereas the exception 2 of section 375 of Indian Penal Code decides intercourse by a man with his wife, the wife not being 18 years of age is not rape. Do you think this is fair?
What you have pointed was, again, similar issue came into a case last year in front of Honorable Supreme Court, which was one of the key matters that led to increasing the woman's age of marriage to 21 years, because they realized that, again, both the, on one hand, you're saying that, it is rape when you are having sexual intercourse with your wife. And in a lot of, because marital laws are not uniform, they are different based upon religions. And a lot of child marriage is still happening, irrespective of what religion is governed and by which law. So the government decided to increase the age based upon a judgment that came, that prevented, that confirmed the fact that marital rape was going to be held if the wife, despite being a wife, she's under 18. So what happens here is that these two are, of course, in direct contradiction of each other. And again, what we have noticed now is we are going to, the Delhi High Court has been discussing it, and the Delhi High Court has also requested the center that they need to bite the bullet, and they need to give, bring forth major reforms to bring marital rape into the ambit. So we, since the matter is still sub judice, we are expecting for better future for all women. But let's see. I mean, I would not be able to comment much on this at the moment because it is sub judice and we are still listening to court proceedings on the same and waiting for the center to submit its repartee on the same. So let's see what happens. But we are hopeful that things will be more uniform again for all.
You can't talk much because it's sub judice, but like it has been in many other countries. Like the law is prevalent in other countries and it works apparently. So we don't have it in India because the major argument is that there will be a lot of false cases and we will not be able to prove. So how does it work? It just makes me curious that how does it work in different countries? I mean, this sounds like a very genuine problem of not being able to prove it.
Right. So see what my knowledge I would can give you of US is that it is by and large held as a crime nationwide in US, the marital rape. And how it is how it works is, of course, reporting works. Then the basic premises are the marriageable age and age of consent. These are the two where they say, of course, the marital age. How they report is, of course, everything, all laws are based upon evidence. So evidence of the party has to be given. The woman who's accusing, she has to give the evidence of the fact that, and then the judiciary or jury in US would decide whether it was an incident of marital rape or was it another false accusation, because both of the cases come through. But by and large, it is decided upon the whatever evidences are submitted in the trial. But India, we definitely need better, you can say, better laws for it. But again, one of the biggest apprehensions that the center has had is again the abuse of the law. And we all know that any law that comes in play will, of course, have its it will have the backdoors and there will be abuse of the law. But they have to frame it in a way that women who are actually suffering, they get some respite. And in all countries, it is going to be based upon whatever oral evidence is going to be provided by the woman. And then it is left up to the jury or judiciary to decide upon it.
So recently, the Delhi High Court is hearing a batch of petitions challenging the exception to Section 375 of the IPC, which exempts spouses from being prosecuted for rape within marriage. The Delhi government had said that a woman can register cases under Section 377, 498A and 327 of IPC. However, one of the senior advocates has said that 498A and the Domestic Violence Act are not enough to deal with a case of wife alleging rape by her husband. So what is your take on this?
See, absolutely, she's right, because 498A is definitely not enough. Because 498A is limited in its ambit and limited in the consequences. And marital rape cases cannot be registered under 498A. We need specific provisions and specific laws. And that is what the whole argument so far has been about it, that we need stringent law to protect women from the marital abuses they are suffering. Even the third-degree rape that happens in marriages, that have to be reported, and provisions for that have also to be given in the new amendments that we seek, or a new section, a new law we seek. So definitely I agree with the senior advocate that 498A is not enough, because you cannot report marital rape under it and the case would not be registered. So let's hope that something more positive comes out. As you mentioned, it's a batch petition going on, and last listing was a week ago. So let's see how it goes. We are hopeful.
We agree on most of it, all of the terms that you said, the way that you look at these legislations and rights. So at the end, I want to changes in our judicial system in the near future. Any major changes that would help us?
Major change that I want to see in the judicial system is to see more women judges, because as I have mentioned before also on many occasions, that a lot of women are not going into judiciary, even at the lower level. And as they go up to the Supreme Court, we don't see many judges, lady judges, is because a lot of women pass off the opportunity to become a judge because they have the responsibility of their children. However, I feel that everything has to be balanced. And for us to have a balanced society based upon the judicial reforms, the judgments that come through, the bench should also be balanced. If they're not equal, at least there should be more women, if not equal to men. And that would be a first step. And that is, I feel there should be a provision of including more judges, even if it's by way of some reservation, which one of our judges mentioned last week. More women should be given opportunity to represent more women in judiciary, to give justice to more women in society at large.
Thank you so much for that thing. Talking with you has helped us realize how much society and its overall knowledge about laws can improve if we have more conversation about these topics. We take away your experience and pleasure of knowing you. I hope people who are waiting to report a crime they're faced and waiting to get justice for themselves take charge and advocate for their rights. We sincerely thank you for taking the time and speaking with us. Thank you so much for coming here.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Anya. It was a wonderful session, and I'm really totally amazed by the knowledge of the two of you possess, and the questions you asked, they were fantastic. I mean, I honestly cannot believe that such young minds can be so knowledgeable and so inquisitive. I'm really kudos to both of you for bringing this forth. Thank you so much for having me.